Before the universe existed, there were monsters. Not metaphorical monsters, not darkness or emptiness or the cold absence of things. Actual entities, primordial and incomprehensible, existing in a state that precedes even the concept of nothing. The Lich was one of them. Orgolorg was one of them. Köken Tepe was one of them. They existed before the Big Bang, before matter, before time had begun to keep track of anything, and when the universe finally arrived, when space and matter and energy came into being, these monsters survived the transition and carried forward into the new reality, bringing with them the memory of what came before. This is where Adventure Time begins, not with Finn and Jake in a treehouse, not with the Mushroom War, not even with the dinosaurs, with the moment before time existed, when the only things present were beings whose nature predates the concept of nature itself. The show is called Adventure Time. It ran for 10 seasons, 283 episodes, 4 Distant Lands specials, and a spin-off series called Fiona and Cake that premiered in 2023. It won Emmy Awards. It changed what animated television could be, and underneath its candy-coloured surface, underneath the fart jokes and the silly adventures and the episodic format of a cartoon for children, it built one of the most elaborate and emotionally coherent mythologies in the history of the medium. Tonight, we go through the entire thing chronologically, from before the universe to the far future, where new heroes climb a tree that grew from the remains of a past hero's body and find a sword waiting for them at the top. Get comfortable. This is going to take a while. Subscribe if you haven't. Let's start at the very beginning. Before the universe, the primordial monsters exist in the pre-universal state. We don't know what this state was like in any detail because the beings who experienced it don't describe it in terms that translate to post-universe comprehension. The Lich, in the Season 6 episode Gold Stars, briefly takes over the body of the innocent child Sweet Pea and delivers the show's most chilling monologue. Before there was time, before there was anything, there was nothing. And before there was nothing, there were monsters. That's the cosmological foundation of Adventure Time. Not emptiness at the base of existence, but monsters. The default state of reality before the universe chose to exist was primordial entities in an incomprehensible mode of being, and then the universe happened and the monsters were still there. Of the 3 primordial monsters the show confirms, the Lich is the most developed. He is the embodiment of the extinction principle, the philosophical position that existence is an aberration and nothingness is the correct state. His entire project, across 65 million years of activity, is returning reality to the state that preceded the universe. He is not evil in the human sense. He is a cosmic position held with patience and certainty and the calm of something that has existed longer than time. Orgolorg became the breaker of worlds, a tyrant who spent an unknowable period dominating the solar system, feared by every civilization in the cosmos. Köken Tepe became the original source of all magic, its body eventually sealed beneath what would become Wizard City by beings who wanted to control what magic meant. All 3 of them survived into the universe. All 3 of them shaped what came after. Now, the catalyst comets. This is the universe's primary mechanism of change in the Adventure Time cosmological system. Every 1,000 years, roughly, a catalyst comet strikes Earth. Each comet is an agent of change, a force that carries a specific principle and deposits it in the world, incarnating as a living being whose existence alters the direction of events. The comets are color-coded to what they carry. The system has been running since before recorded history. The green comet is the Lich. It carried the extinction principle from the primordial state into the physical universe, eventually depositing the Lich's essence on Earth, where it would wait for conditions to produce a corporeal form. The blue comet is Finn, the embodiment of cosmic good, the hero principle, the soul that would cycle through incarnations until it became the human child who would stand against the Lich over and over. The yellow comet's purpose is never confirmed by the show, though its colour and the visual design of the show's mythology suggest it connects to Jake. The purple comet is an ancient self-aware entity that has embodied both good and evil across its long existence, the one that offered Finn transcendence in the season 6 finale. And then there is a second mechanism, the elementals. 4 elemental forces, ice, fire, candy, and slime, cycle through incarnations in the same way as the comets, but at the scale of individual people rather than cosmic bombardment. Each elemental dies and is reincarnated in a new host, maintaining the balance of the natural world across generations. When an elemental achieves full power, the world is transformed, and not always for the better. The 5th element, lumps, is different. It originates in lumpy space, a separate dimension, and its representative is the anti-elemental, the force that opposes imposed transformation. These two systems, the comets and the elementals, are the heartbeat of the Adventure Time universe. The comets bring change from outside every 1,000 years. The elementals maintain balance from within continuously. Together they produce the world the show inhabits. Now the Cretaceous period, roughly 65 million years ago. This is the first moment in the show's history that has named characters. 4 elementals rule the world: Urgence Evergreen of ice, Chatsberry of candy, Balthus of fire, and Slimy D of slime. Each rules their own elemental kingdom. The world is divided into 4 quadrants. Dinosaurs are the dominant life form. Evergreen has an apprentice, a small dinosaur named Gunther, who worships him completely. Gunther would do anything for Evergreen. He has devoted himself to his master's knowledge and power, hoping to learn magic and earn approval. Evergreen treats Gunther terribly. He is cold, dismissive, occasionally cruel. He sees Gunther as a servant. He never tells him that he matters. The green catalyst comet is approaching Earth. Evergreen can see what it carries, the extinction principle, and recognizes that it will cause a mass extinction event if it hits. He tries to convince the other elementals to act. Chatsberry, Balthus, and Slimy D refuse. Their position, the comet, is part of the natural cycle. They will reincarnate. Stopping it might cause irreparable damage to existence itself. They are right to be cautious. Evergreen decides to act alone. He creates the Ice Crown, a wish-granting artifact of enormous power. The plan is simple. Whoever wears the crown will have their deepest wish granted. Evergreen will wear it himself and wish the comet away. To power the crown, he needs the ruby eyes of Magwood, the lava dog. He freezes the other elementals to stop them from interfering, fulfilling, in this generation, the ice elemental's pattern of betrayal, and he and Gunther go to get the eyes. Magwood attacks and traps Evergreen under rubble. The crown is in Gunther's hands. Gunther has to wish away the comet. Evergreen tells him what to do. Gunther tries. He really tries. But the crown doesn't grant the wish you consciously make. It grants your deepest, truest wish, the one buried so far down you might not know it's there. Gunther's deepest wish is not to save the world. His deepest wish is to be like his master, to be like Evergreen. The crown transforms Gunther into the thing Gunther believed Evergreen was, a powerful, cold, authoritarian ice wizard who blasts everything with frost and shouts orders at people. Not a hero. Evergreen as seen through the eyes of a traumatized apprentice who had never received a kind word from the man he loved. The comet strikes, the dinosaurs die, the Lich's essence is deposited on Earth and lies dormant, waiting for conditions that will produce a physical form. The ice crown is imprinted permanently with Gunther's wish. Every person who wears it from this moment forward will be transformed into a version of Urgent's Evergreen, as seen through the eyes of that dinosaur. This is the curse. This is where Simon Petrikov's tragedy begins. 65 million years before Simon Petrikov is born, the elementals reincarnate. The ice crown sits in the world, waiting. Now we skip forward considerably through human history, through civilizations rising and falling, through the period when vampires went underground during an ice age, through the formation of Wizard City over the sealed body of Kokontepe, through Abraham Lincoln becoming King of Mars. He bargained with death after being assassinated on April 15th, 1865, and was sent back in time to rule Mars, which is exactly as strange as it sounds. An important event, Orgolorg, the Breaker of Worlds, attempts to absorb the yellow catalyst comet thousands of years before the show's main events. Abraham Lincoln orders Grob Gob, Glob Grod, a deity with 4 heads on one body, to stop him. Orgolorg is defeated and hurled toward Earth. Earth's gravity compresses his massive cosmic form into the shape of a small penguin. Orgolorg, the tyrant of the solar system, spends the next several thousand years waddling around as a penguin with no memory of who he is. He lives among ancient Egyptians, gladiators, Renaissance-era humans, World War I soldiers. He becomes a movie director at some point. He is immortal and completely ordinary, an ancient horror in the shape of a cute bird who goes quack. Now the modern era, before the Mushroom War. Simon Petrikov is a scholar and antiquarian, a collector and studier of ancient magical artifacts. He teaches at a university. He believes in magic in a world that has largely dismissed it. He finds artifacts. He documents them. He is brilliant and kind and awkward and happy. One of his students is Betty Groff. Betty believes in his work when others mock it. They fall in love. They become engaged. Simon calls her his princess, a term of endearment that will echo through 1,000 years of tragedy as the Ice King's broken obsession with finding a princess. Simon and Betty travel together to find the Enchiridion, a hero's manual, an ancient book that Simon eventually acquires on an archaeological expedition. He publishes about it. He and Betty also write a spell book together, Mystic Rituals and Their Space-Time Applications, a collection of spells that currently don't work because the world has suppressed its own magic, but which will become functional after the Mushroom War cracks the barrier. And then Simon finds the Ice Crown. He buys it from a dock worker in northern Scandinavia, thinking it's an interesting artifact for his collection. He brings it home. He puts it on his head to make Betty laugh. The moment it touches him, everything goes wrong. The crown immediately seizes control. Simon blacks out. He blasts ice in every direction. He screams for Betty, calling her his princess, while experiencing terrifying visions he can't control. When he comes to, Betty is gone. She is terrified by what she saw. She leaves him. The crown begins its slow work. Simon's skin turns blue. His nose elongates. His hair grows and turns white. His body temperature drops. And most crucially, his memory begins to fade. He is losing himself. He is becoming the thing the crown was imprinted with 65 million years ago. Urgence evergreen, as seen through a traumatized dinosaur's eyes. Simon starts making videotapes. He records himself, documenting the deterioration in real time, because he is a scholar, and documentation is how he understands the world, and also because he needs someone to know what happened to him. He needs a record that Simon Petrikov existed. The tapes become increasingly desperate, increasingly fragmented, as the crown takes more of him. Before this transformation completes, the world ends. The Great Mushroom War. The show never tells you exactly when it happened or who started it or why. It was sometime in the early 21st century, based on cultural references Simon makes. A global nuclear exchange. The mushroom-shaped clouds gave it its name. Someone dropped the mushroom bomb, a mutagenic weapon unlike anything before it, which didn't just destroy, but transformed. Its radiation rewrote the genetic code of everything it touched. Plants became sentient. Animals gained speech and cognition. Inanimate objects came to life. The barrier between the world of science and the world of magic cracked, and magic came flooding back. The Lich's essence, dormant since the Cretaceous extinction, was awakened by the mushroom bomb's detonation. A person was submerged in the mutagenic waste at the blast zone. The Lich possessed them, transforming them into the skeletal, rotting, horrifying figure that will become the show's primary antagonist. The same event that ended human civilization also gave the extinction principle a body. Nearly all of humanity was destroyed. The few survivors scattered. The world mutated around them. New creatures emerged from the radiation. Oozers, zombie creatures with green pus, vampires, who had been in hibernation, decided now was a convenient time to emerge. Simon survived because the crown made him functionally immortal. He couldn't die from radiation. He couldn't be killed by the nuclear fallout that was killing everyone else. The price was his sanity, taken slowly, day by day. He found Marceline. Marceline was a young child, maybe 6 or 7, in the ruins of the post-apocalyptic world. She is half human, half demon. Her mother Elise was a human woman. Her father Hunson, Abadir, is the immortal lord of evil who rules the Nightosphere, the adventure time equivalent of a demon dimension. Hunson had been present in Marceline's early life, but returned to his dimension, as one does when one has an entire realm to rule, leaving Marceline and Elise to manage without him. Elise died. The show's stakes miniseries implies radiation poisoning. In the first year after the war, Marceline was alone. Simon and Marceline found each other in the wreckage. Simon became her protector, her caretaker, her surrogate father. The season 5 episode, Simon and Marcy, set 996 years before the show's main events, which the episode's title card explicitly confirms, shows them wandering together through frozen post-apocalyptic ruins. Simon fights off mutated creatures. He keeps Marceline's spirits up with songs and stories and invented games. He uses the crown repeatedly to protect her, and each use costs him a little more of who he is. He gives her a stuffed toy, a small rag doll that Marceline names Hambo. Hambo becomes her most treasured possession for the next 1,000 years. It represents Simon. It represents the only person who chose to take care of her after her world ended. But Simon can feel himself fading. He can feel the crown winning, and his deepest fear is not losing his mind. It is the possibility that one day he will hurt Marceline without knowing who she is. So he leaves. He writes her a letter. The letter says, "I am going to be different soon. I love you. I'm sorry. Will anyone save me?" Nobody did. Simon Petrikov disappeared. The Ice King took his place. Around this same time, Roughly 15 years after the Mushroom War, Marceline's life intersects with a group of human survivors. The few humans who had survived were being hunted by vampires. A man named Two Bread Tom led a tribe of them. Marceline decided to protect them. She became a vampire hunter. She tracked down the vampire court, 5 specific vampires representing the tarot: the Fool, the Empress, the Hierophant, the Moon, and the Vampire King. She killed them, one by one. Each time she killed a vampire, her father's soul-sucking ability, one of the few powers she inherited from Hunson, absorbed the dead vampire's specific power into herself. From the Fool, she gained levitation. From the Empress, hypnosis and invisibility. From the Hierophant, shape-shifting. From the Moon, regeneration. Then she faced the Vampire King. She killed him, but in the moment of his death, he bit her neck. Marceline killed the last vampire and became the last vampire. The hunter became the thing she hunted. She is now the Vampire Queen by default. There are no other vampires. The title is entirely ceremonial. Two Bread Tom's tribe escaped on a freighter. They sailed away from the mainland, searching for somewhere safe. They found an archipelago, the Founders Islands, far enough from the mainland that the mutagenic effects of the war had not reached them. They built a settlement. They thrived. Over the next 1,000 years, this settlement became an advanced technological civilization, isolated from the mainland by choice and by the Guardian, a massive robot built in the water to prevent anyone from leaving. Marceline stayed on the mainland, alone, immortal, the vampire who killed all the vampires. The mainland was now the land of Oo, or would become it. The mutations and the magic and the centuries of new growth transformed the post-apocalyptic ruins into the bizarre, candy-coloured, impossibly diverse world where Finn and Jake would eventually live. Here is what emerged in those centuries. Bonibble Bubblegum, Princess Bubblegum, is the reincarnation of the candy elemental, the latest in a cycle stretching back to Chatsberry from the dinosaur era. Her physical form emerged from the Mother Gum, a massive blob of sentient pink gum that developed in the ruins of civilization when mutagenic radiation and resurgent magic combined to produce spontaneous life. The Mother Gum eventually produced Bonibel, pink, conscious, alone. She created a family. She made Uncle Gumbald, Aunt Lolly, and Cousin Chickley from candy, designing them as companions. For a while, it worked. They were family, but Gumbald had ambitions of his own. He wanted to build a city, the Candy Kingdom, with himself in charge. When Bubblegum refused, Gumbald created Dum Dum Juice, a potion that reduces the drinker to a simple-minded, docile state. He planned to use it on Bubblegum to take control. The plan backfired. In the struggle, the Dum Dum Juice spilled on Gumbald instead, transforming him into the Punch Bowl character called Punchy. Lolly was transformed into Manfred the Pinata, Chickley into Crunchy the Cookie. They forgot who they had been. Only Bubblegum remembered, and so Bubblegum, alone again, built the Candy Kingdom. She created the Candy People, thousands of simple-minded candy beings. To populate it, she crowned herself princess. She built the Gumball Guardians to protect her people. She devoted her entire existence to ruling and protecting beings she had made with her own hands. This is both beautiful and deeply uncomfortable, and the show knows it. Bubblegum is a brilliant, compassionate ruler who is also a creator deity who has complete power over the beings she rules, who can recreate dead citizens as exact copies, who has surveillance systems monitoring everything in her kingdom, who has made choices for her people that they cannot consent to or contest. The show treats her as a protagonist and a hero, and also as someone who regularly has to confront the ethical weight of what she is, now Shoko, one of Finn's past lives. Before Finn was Finn, his soul, the Blue Comet's incarnation, had cycled through several forms: a butterfly, a strange pink blob in another dimension, and Shoko, a one-armed thief who lived in the early days of the Candy Kingdom. Several centuries after the Mushroom War, Shoko's parents sold her right arm for a computer and abandoned her at a dojo. She grew up without family, without security, becoming a criminal out of necessity. She worked for a gang called the Bath Boy Gang. The Bath Boy Gang gave her a job: infiltrate the early Candy Kingdom and steal Princess Bubblegum's amulet. Shoko's companion was a white tiger, confirmed by writer Jesse Moynihan to be a past life of Jake. Finn and Jake finding each other across lifetimes is the show's most consistent cosmological argument. Shoko snuck into the Candy Kingdom by faking an injury. Bubblegum took her in, cared for her, befriended her. Bubblegum even gave Shoko a mechanical arm to replace the one she had lost. For the first time in her life, someone was kind to her without wanting something in return, but the Bath Boy gang was threatening her life. Shoko stole the amulet. As she tried to escape, the Gumball Guardians blasted her off a platform. She fell into the river of toxic radioactive waste that ran beneath the Candy Kingdom. The waste mutated her into a slug-like creature. She crawled out, dying, and made her way to a small tree sapling near the kingdom. She died at its base, still clutching the stolen amulet. The tree grew around her body over the centuries. That tree eventually became the treehouse where Finn and Jake would live. Shoko's remains and the stolen amulet were buried in the foundation of their home. Now Marceline's history between the immediate post-war period and the show's present. Over the centuries, Marceline lived through Ooze formation. She had relationships, formed communities, watched everything change. At some point, she dated a wizard named Ash, emotionally abusive, selfish, ultimately the person who sold her most treasured possession, Hambo, the stuffed toy Simon had given her nearly 1,000 years earlier. Ash sold Hambo to a sky witch named Maya for a potion. Marceline ended the relationship immediately. At some point before the show's events, Marceline and Princess Bubblegum met and became close, very close. They were in love, though the show in its early seasons couldn't be direct about this. The relationship came apart because Bubblegum's growing responsibilities as ruler of the Candy Kingdom caused her to push Marceline away. They both carried the wound of that separation for a long time. Marceline found the treehouse, built on Shoko's body, and made it her home. This is the treehouse that Finn and Jake will later evict her from in the Season 1 episode Evicted, and eventually reclaim as their home. Now, approximately 34 years before the show's main events, Joshua and Margaret Investigations is open for business. Joshua and Margaret were dogs, husband and wife, private investigators. They worked cases in the post-apocalyptic world of early Ooh, dealing with supernatural problems that required their particular set of skills. They were brave, capable, and deeply in love with each other. They are one of the show's portraits of what a functional, loving partnership looks like. During a case involving a mysterious creature sighted near Tree Trunks' house, Tree Trunks being an elderly elephant who features throughout the show, they encountered Warren Ampersand. Warren is an extra-dimensional shape-shifting alien from a planet called Neror. His species' reproductive strategy involves biting compatible hosts from other species, injecting them with venom that gestates into offspring inside the host's body. He is, among other things, deeply sinister in ways that Joshua and Margaret had no way to anticipate. Warren bit Joshua on the head. Margaret chased Warren down to extract his venom as an antidote for her husband. Warren escaped through a portal back to his home dimension, laughing. The venom gestated in Joshua's head. A pustule formed, and from that pustule emerged baby Jake, born from his father's forehead, immediately dancing and singing, clearly already magical, clearly something strange and wonderful and unprecedented. Joshua and Margaret took him in. They agreed to never tell Jake the truth of his birth. Joshua started wearing a fedora to cover the scar. Jake grew up alongside Jermaine, Joshua and Margaret's biological son, and eventually alongside a human baby named Finn, who Joshua and Margaret found abandoned in the woods when Finn and Jermaine were still infants. Finn had been placed there after a complicated sequence of events involving Finn's biological parents on the Founders Islands. His mother, Minerva, was a helper, a doctor-caretaker combination, who eventually survived a plague by uploading her consciousness into a network of robots. His father, Martin Mertens, was a hider, one of the humans who wanted to escape the islands, who ended up imprisoned in the Citadel, a cosmic prison for the worst criminals in the multiverse. After a series of events, the show eventually reveals, but never fully explains, baby Finn drifted across the ocean and was found by Joshua and Margaret, who adopted him and raised him as their son. Joshua and Margaret died at some point before the show's main events. The show doesn't depict their deaths directly, it shows the aftermath. Jermaine stayed in their old house, maintaining the wards Joshua had placed against supernatural threats and dealing with the supernatural debts Joshua had left unpaid. Finn and Jake moved into the treehouse. In the 45th Dead World, confirmed in Together Again, Joshua and Margaret spend their afterlife in a partially crystalline house together. The 45th Dead World is strange looking, with glitching surfaces and three-eyed ravens, but the residents are just two dogs who loved each other and raised three extraordinary sons, spending eternity the way they spent their lives together. Now, BMO was built by Mosef Mo Mastro Giovanni. Mo survived the Mushroom War and subsequent centuries by replacing failing biological systems with cybernetic parts, eventually becoming more machine than human. His factory, Mo Company, produced robots designated with two-letter codes, AMO, SMO, DMO, and many others. But BMO was special. BMO was built to be the companion for the child Mo never had. Every feature, the game console, the cheerful personality, the capacity for imagination and creativity, was designed for a specific human child that Mo hoped BMO would eventually find. Before finding Finn, BMO's story, shown in the Distant Lands special BMO, involved a journey to a space station called the Drift, a derelict station that a community of alien refugees had turned into a makeshift civilization. A scientist named Hugo had brought Mushroom War surviving humans, fused with alien DNA, to the Drift, and was attempting to dismantle the rest of the station to build a central Unity pod. BMO helped a young girl named Y5, exposed Hugo's plan, and eventually continued on its journey toward Earth. BMO eventually found Finn and Jake in the treehouse and moved in with them. The specific texture of BMO's daily life with Finn and Jake, shown across the show's early seasons in fragments, is the show's most consistent portrait of what joy looks like as a default state. BMO plays games alone when Finn and Jake are out. BMO talks to its own reflection. BMO sings to itself. BMO finds ways to make the ordinary interesting because BMO was built to find the ordinary interesting. Mo designed this quality specifically. A companion for a child needs to find delight in small things because children's lives are mostly small things. BMO carried this design principle into situations far larger than Mo anticipated, which is why BMO is still functional and still cheerful 1,000 years after Finn and Jake are gone, narrating their story to new adventurers on a hill. Now, the Ice King, the full portrait. Simon Petrikov has been the Ice King for 1,000 years. He built an ice kingdom in the far north. He has a pet penguin named Gunter, the name whispered into his consciousness from 65 million years of the crown's embedded memory, the name of the dinosaur whose wish imprinted on the artifact. Gunter is Orgolorg, the ancient cosmic monster, compressed into penguin form for thousands of years, the most evil thing Hunson Abadir has ever encountered, with no memory of being Orgolorg. The Ice King's obsession, kidnapping princesses. He doesn't know why. The crown scrambled his memories of Betty, corrupted his love for her into a compulsion. He called Betty his princess. The crown translated that into, find a princess to love. Every kidnapping is the Ice King trying to find the woman he can no longer remember he already loved. He lives alone in his castle. He writes fan fiction. He makes tapes. He is pitiable and ridiculous, and also one of the most tragic figures in the history of animated television. And the show built this tragedy so carefully and so slowly that when it reveals itself fully in Holly Jolly Secrets Part 2, Season 3, Episode 20, the impact is staggering. Billy imprisoned the Lich in amber in the center of the Candy Kingdom. Billy was the greatest hero of Ooo, a legend, a figure Finn idolized. Billy was Finn's inspiration for heroism. His imprisonment of the Lich was the last great act of his adventuring career before he retired, grieving and exhausted by everything he had seen. And now, the show begins. Finn the human and Jake the dog. Finn is approximately 12 or 13 at the show's start. He is the last human being, or believes himself to be, and that belief shapes everything about him. He wears a white hat with bear ears. He is relentlessly enthusiastic, almost pathologically heroic, unable to encounter a problem without immediately trying to solve it. He is also naive, emotionally immature, and learning everything about what it means to be a person. Jake is approximately 28 magical dog years old. He can stretch, grow, shrink, and change his shape into almost anything. He has a relationship with Lady Rainicorn, a Korean-speaking rainbow unicorn from the Crystal Dimension. He gives advice, sometimes good, sometimes terrible, with equal confidence. He makes bacon pancakes. He is warm and lazy and funny, and underneath all of it, more cosmologically significant than anyone, including Jake himself, has any idea. The world they live in is the land of U. It is Earth, our Earth, 1,000 years after the Mushroom War. The ruins of human civilization are visible if you know where to look. Cars buried in the ground, buildings overtaken by vegetation, the Candy Kingdom built over a pond of nuclear waste. New kingdoms have formed from the mutations. The Candy Kingdom, the Fire Kingdom, the Ice Kingdom, the Slime Kingdom, the Cloud Kingdom, the Crystal Kingdom, and dozens of others. Magic is everywhere. Everything talks. Everything has feelings. The world that ended became something extraordinary in its aftermath. Subscribe. We're through the prehistory. Now we go through the show. Season 1 establishes the world and the characters. Finn and Jake go on adventures, fight monsters, protect the innocent, and occasionally annoy the Ice King. The show feels episodic because it is episodic. The early seasons are mostly standalone adventures with connective tissue underneath. Finn has a crush on Princess Bubblegum, which is one-sided and eventually resolves into a deep friendship. The Ice King is a recurring nuisance. Marceline appears in Evicted and establishes her as a complicated, powerful presence in the world. The first major mythological revelation, the Lich, is released. In the Season 2 finale, Mortal Folly and Mortal Recoil, the Lich breaks free from the Amber Prison in the Candy Kingdom. This is the show's first major threat. The Lich is not played for comedy. He has mind control. He kills with a touch, and his green fire burns with the essence of death. Finn and Jake fight him. They win, partially. The Lich is defeated, but possesses Princess Bubblegum's body, requiring further action to expel. The resolution is imperfect. The Lich is not destroyed. He is contained. Again, he will return. Season 3 deepens the mythology significantly. The most important episode, Holly Jolly Secrets Part 2, in which Finn and Jake watch the Ice King's VHS tapes and discover Simon Petrikov's video diary. The show changes in this moment. Everything the audience thought they understood about the Ice King, the harmless villain, the comic foil, is recontextualized by the man who used to be inside him. Simon recorded himself losing his mind in real time. He was terrified. He was saying goodbye. The crown was taking him, and he couldn't stop it. Buetopia introduces the human tribe, the fish people who live underground, wearing animal hats. Susan Strong, their leader, is a figure who will become important later. The hats are protective neck coverings. The tribe has histories the show never fully explores. And Susan Strong, it will eventually be revealed, is not a human at all. She is a human from the Founders Islands, a seeker who lost her memories. Season 4, the Lich returns more fully, and the first truly cosmic scale story begins. I Remember You, the emotional companion piece to Holly Jolly Secrets. In this episode, the Ice King asks Marceline to help him write a song. During the process, Marceline realizes the Ice King had pages from Simon's journal, memories of their time together after the Mushroom War. The Ice King doesn't know who Marceline is. He doesn't know who Simon is, but he kept those pages, somewhere in his madness, because even the Ice King couldn't fully let go of something that important. The episode ends with the Ice King and Marceline singing together, both of them singing Simon's words, Marceline knowing what they mean, and the Ice King only feeling them dimly, something in the music connecting him to a life the crown stole. It is one of the most moving sequences in animation history. The Season 4 finale, Finn the human and Jake the dog. Wait, those are Season 5. Let me correct myself. The finale of Season 4 is the Lich, not the full multi-part story, but the beginning of it. The Lich has manipulated everything to reach the Enchiridion, the hero's manual Simon once found, which turns out to be a key to the multiverse. With the last gem inserted into the book, a portal to the time room opens. The Lich goes through. Finn and Jake follow. Season 5 begins with them in Prismo's time room. Prismo, the wish-granting entity who is the dream of an old man on a futon, the two-dimensional pink shadow who is also the almighty Wishmaster, is genuinely delighted to have visitors. He makes artisanal pickles. He loves to hang out, and he has to grant the Lich's wish. the Lich's wish, the extinction of all life. Prismo grants it, and then Finn makes a counter-wish, that the Lich never existed. This creates Farm World, an alternate timeline where Simon Petrikov stopped the mushroom bomb with the ice crown, freezing it before it could detonate. Simon was crushed by the bomb's weight. He died, but the bomb never went off. The Lich was never born. Humanity survived. In Farm World, Finn has 2 arms. Jake is a normal dog, and the world is frozen. The crown's magic ran uncontrolled after Simon died. It's not a paradise. It's a different kind of tragedy. Jake wishes to go home. This cancels the Lich's extinction wish within Prismo's system and restores the original timeline. But Farm World continues to exist as a separate parallel universe. The multiverse branches. It cannot be unbroken. Back in the main timeline, the Lich, who reached the Time Room, also reached the Citadel, the cosmic prison where the worst criminals in the multiverse are held. The Citadel's guards, enormous crystalline beings, produce a substance, guardian blood, that has transformative properties. When the Lich is dunked in it during the confrontation at the Citadel, he is reborn as a giant baby, Sweet Pea. The extinction principle becomes a child who goes to school and eats lunch. Martin Mertens, Finn's biological father, was in the Citadel. Finn found him there. It went badly. Martin used Finn's healing ability as a distraction to escape, causing Finn to lose his arm in the reaching. A flower grew from the stump. Martin disappeared into the cosmos, having chosen once again not to be a father. The arm is replaced over time by a magical grass sword that grows from the injury, by the grass sword eventually transforming into a separate being, by subsequent mechanical prosthetics. Finn's right arm becomes the show's running symbol of the cost of heroism and the price of reaching for things that don't reach back. Season 5 continues developing the show's emotional depth. Simon and Marcy is the flashback episode showing Simon and young Marceline in the post-war world, 996 years before the main events. This is the show at its most emotionally precise. Simon using the crown to fight off monsters, while you can see the crown taking his personality in real time, the warmth and the competence draining, the thing he's becoming starting to surface. He holds on, he stays. As long as Marceline needs him, he finds ways to stay. The Vault is the episode where Finn undergoes hypnotic regression and discovers Shoko, one of his past lives. He learns that Shoko died near a tree that eventually became his treehouse. He learns that Shoko stole Princess Bubblegum's amulet. He finds the amulet in the floorboards. He returns it. Shoko's ghost is at peace. The episode also reveals the full reincarnation chain: Blue Comet, Butterfly, Pink Blob, Shoko, Finn. The show confirms that Finn's soul has been cycling through incarnations, that his cosmic connection to the Lich is not accidental, that there is a pattern behind the show's surface. Betty is the episode where Betty Groff returns. Simon briefly regains his original mind through a series of magical events, and without the crown keeping him alive, he begins to die. Betty, who has been pulled from the past through a time portal, watches the man she loves dying. She grabs the crown and puts its magic back into Simon, saving his life and dooming him to become the Ice King again. And then she dedicates her existence to finding a cure. Betty Groff starts learning magic. She is brilliant and desperate and increasingly unstable. The same quality that made Simon brilliant, the obsessive devotion to a problem, the refusal to stop, is now pointed at saving him, and it is destroying her in the same way the crown destroyed him, just more slowly. Season 6 is where the show's mythology reaches its greatest density. First, Evergreen, the episode that explains the Ice Crown's origin, the Cretaceous period, Urgent's Evergreen, Gunther the dinosaur, the comet, the crown, the wish, the tragedy. Everything that makes the Ice King what he is traces back to this moment, and the episode presents it with heartbreaking clarity. Breezy develops Finn's psychology after the arm loss. Finn is depressed. He feels purposeless. A bee named Breezy becomes attached to him. The episode is strange and dreamlike, and also one of the show's most direct examinations of what depression looks like when experienced by someone whose entire identity is built around heroic activity. Jake the Star Child, Season 10, gives us Warren Ampersand's full story, but his visual introduction happens earlier. For now, Jake eventually learns that his alien biological father has been watching his entire life from a distance, waiting to harvest his powers, and that Jake's existence was designed as a resource to be extracted. Is That You is the episode where Jake becomes Prismo's dreamer. The Lich had killed Prismo's host body. Prismo set up a time loop contingency requiring Jake to sleep in a specific bed. Jake becomes the old man on the futon. The most powerful wish-granting entity in the multiverse is sustained by Jake the dog's sleeping body. The show establishes this and then moves on. The season 6 finale, The Comet, the purple catalyst. Comet arrives. It is conscious. It is ancient. It offers Finn a choice: leave his physical body, discorporate, explore the universe as a being of pure consciousness. Finn chooses to stay. He chooses his meat reality, his life, his friends. His father Martin, who had been drifting through the season without redemption, takes the Comet's offer instead. Martin discorporates and disappears into the cosmos, choosing the ultimate escape from responsibility. It is, as the show notes, exactly what Martin had been doing his whole life. Orgolorg re-emerges during this arc. The proximity of the cosmic energy triggers his dormant memories. He transforms back into his ancient form, tries to absorb the comet, and Finn stops him using the grass sword. Orgolorg compresses back into Gunther. The world's most ancient monster goes back to being a penguin. Season 7 brings 2 major miniseries, Stakes and the beginning of the island's arc. Stakes. Marceline decides she wants to be cured of vampirism. Dr. Princess extracts the vampire essence from her, but the process accidentally releases the 5 vampires whose souls Marceline had been carrying since she absorbed them centuries ago. The Fool, the Empress, the Hierophant, the Moon, and the Vampire King are all restored as full individuals. Marceline has to hunt them down again, absorbing their powers one by one, and ultimately faces the Vampire King again. He is cured of vampirism rather than destroyed. Marceline reabsorbs the vampire essence. She is the Vampire Queen again. The emotional weight of Stakes is about Marceline's relationship to her own immortality. She wanted to be mortal. She wanted to be able to age and die and stop carrying the weight of 1,000 years. She gives that up to protect U. She chooses to remain what she is, because the alternative required destruction. Varmints, also season 7, is the episode where Bubblegum and Marceline rebuild their relationship. Bubblegum had been deposed. The king of U, a con artist made of earwax, had taken her throne, and she's living in reduced circumstances. Marceline finds her. They work together. The episode shows the history between them through the specific shorthand of 2 people who know each other too well, who have old wounds that haven't fully healed, who are discovering that the wounds are healable. One of the most overlooked episodes in this period is Germain, a season 7 episode that gives us our clearest portrait of what life was like for the third brother. Germain stayed in Joshua and Margaret's old house, while Finn and Jake had their adventures. He maintained the wards Joshua placed against supernatural threats. He dealt with the debts Joshua left unpaid, deals made with demons in the course of investigations, obligations that fell on the next generation because they fell on whoever was left. Germain is the show's portrait of the person who stayed. While Finn and Jake were becoming heroes, Germain was home, keeping the lights on, honouring the arrangements their father made without being consulted about making them. The episode resolves with the house destroyed. Germain burns it down to escape the demon debts, and Germain free, finally, of the obligations that had defined his adult life. He becomes a painter. He makes art in a space outside the house that had been his entire world for years. The burning of the house is the show's most explicit portrait of generational obligation. Sometimes you inherit a structure that cannot be repaired, only released. The burning is not tragedy. It is the specific liberation of someone who finally stopped trying to maintain something that was never built for them. Jake appears in Germain's dreams in the episode Abstract, later in the season, and Germain points at a painting that doesn't look like what it's supposed to look like, and says he's still working on it. This is Germain communicating something through Jake's subconscious about the strange path of making art, the gap between what you intend and what emerges. He has found his thing. He is working on it. He doesn't need Jake to understand it. He just needs to show him. The specific lore of Billy, the hero who preceded Finn and whose legacy shaped Finn's entire early understanding of what heroism meant, deserves proper treatment. Billy was the greatest hero of U. The show establishes this without irony. He was genuinely that, the best warrior of his generation, the person who fought the Lich and won, who imprisoned the enemy in amber. His song is in U's cultural consciousness. Finn idolized him from childhood. Billy was the template. By the time Finn meets Billy in the season 2 episode His Hero, Billy has retired. He is living in a cave. He is done adventuring. He has seen too much. done too much, lost too much, and he no longer believes that beating monsters is the right approach to making the world better. His advice to Finn, in that episode, is to help people without fighting, to make sandwiches for old ladies, to listen, to be present without violence. Finn tries and fails to apply this advice because Finn is 13, and his entire identity is built around heroism as combat. But the advice isn't wrong, it's just advice Finn isn't ready for yet. Billy's death, revealed in the Season 4 finale, when Finn discovers that the Billy who has been guiding him is actually the Lich wearing Billy's corpse, is the show's most personal act of villainy. The Lich didn't just kill Billy, he wore him. He used the form of Finn's greatest hero, the man Finn most wanted to believe in, as a puppet for his own manipulation. Every conversation Finn had with the Lich's Billy was a conversation with the Extinction Principle wearing the face of inspiration. The betrayal is not just of Finn, it is of the entire concept of heroes as guides. Billy left behind a girlfriend, Canyon, a woman with water-bending powers, who appears briefly and whose grief is presented as real and unresolvable. Canyon lost Billy, and she never found a replacement for what he was. The show doesn't dwell on this, it simply confirms it. Billy mattered to someone who isn't the protagonist, and that mattering continued past his death, and the show thought that was worth noting. Season 8, Islands miniseries. Finn, Jake, and Susan Strong travel across the ocean to the Founders Islands, the human civilization that survived the Mushroom War in isolation. This is where Finn discovers his origins. His mother Minerva is there, or rather, the robotic network that Minerva became after uploading her consciousness to survive a plague. Hundreds of robotic Minervas serve the island community, each of them a copy of the woman who loved her son and lost him to the ocean. The island's arc reveals the full picture of human survival, a civilization that chose safety over freedom, that imprisoned anyone who tried to leave, that built the Guardian specifically to prevent escape. Finn's father Martin was a hider, someone who wanted out. Finn was an accident of that attempted escape, the baby who ended up on a raft. Finn meets his mother and leaves. He cannot live in the bubble of the islands, no matter how comfortable. He promises to stay in touch. Season 9, Elements miniseries. Patient Street. Pym, the ice elemental who froze herself before the Mushroom War to survive the apocalypse, has been awake for some time and has been searching for the current elemental incarnations. She finds them: Princess Bubblegum for candy, Flame Princess for fire, Slime Princess for slime. The ice elemental position is complicated by the crown situation. Patience activates a mega elemental spell. The land of Oo transforms. Each kingdom becomes a pure expression of its element. The Candy Kingdom becomes a nightmare where everyone is forced into blissed-out candy zombies. Pink, happy, empty. The Fire Kingdom becomes pure destructive flame. The Slime Kingdom becomes gelatinous complacency. The ice becomes frozen apathy. The elementals themselves transform into their pure forms, losing their personalities and becoming forces of nature. The resolution: Lumpy Space Princess. LSP is the anti-elemental, the representative of lumps, which in the Adventure Time universe means authentic selfhood, the refusal of imposed transformation. LSP's power reverts everyone to their true forms. Bubblegum, Flame Princess, Slime Princess, all restored. Patient Street. Pym is left to reckon with her catastrophic overreach. After the Elements arc, Jake's true form emerges. The magical saturation activates his alien biology. He becomes blue, enormous, five-eyed, resembling Warren Ampersand. The episode Abstract follows Jake's attempt to process this revelation and his eventual choice to return to his yellow form. He sizes the alien revelation correctly. He chooses to remain the Jake that everyone knows, not because the blue form is wrong, but because the yellow form is right. Season 10 is the show's final season and brings everything to a close. The first investigation shows Jake witnessing his own birth through a time slip in Joshua and Margaret's old detective office. At the end of the episode, Warren Ampersand appears, old, weakened, grey. He touches Jake and turns him blue. He says they have to leave. Jake goes with him. Jake the Star Child is Warren's full episode. The Jakeseum, the fabricated civilization, the belt trick. Jake crying because he couldn't defeat Ixcano even knowing the contest was fake. Because Jake can't help being emotionally present even in situations he knows are manufactured. Jake switching the belts during the hug. Jake showing Warren his grandchildren. Jake throwing Warren into a black hole. I'm going 4D, baby. Uncle Gumbald returns, restored to his original form after the Dum Dum juice was eventually reversed. He is furious. He wants revenge on Princess Bubblegum for the centuries he spent as a punch bowl. He gathers an army. This is the beginning of the Gum War. And then Betty, still desperately searching for a way to cure Simon, performs a dark magic ritual. She is trying to summon enough power to save him permanently. The ritual goes wrong. She doesn't summon a cure. She summons Golby, the series finale. Come along with me. Golb is the embodiment of chaos and disorder, entropy made conscious, the dissolution of all meaning and structure. It is not evil exactly. It is the breakdown of systems, the degradation of order, the ending of coherence. Golb arrived in Ooo because Betty called it, and its presence was immediately catastrophic. The Gum War, both sides, Bubblegum's forces and Gumbald's army, united against the common threat. Every character the show had built across 10 seasons fought side by side. Finn and Jake, Marceline and Bubblegum, the Ice King, Lumpy Space Princess, Flame Princess, countless others. Conventional attacks were useless. You cannot punch entropy. You cannot fight the dissolution of meaning with physical force. What defeated GOLB, or at least drove it back? Music. BMO began singing, and the others joined one by one. The power of their collective harmony, of people coming together to create something beautiful, was the specific force that Golb's dissolution couldn't overcome. Golb represents the breakdown of all meaning. Music is the creation of meaning from noise, harmony from chaos. The citizens of Ooo didn't defeat it with violence. They defeated it with the simple act of making something beautiful together. Inside Golb, Finn, the Ice King, and Betty were swallowed during the fighting. Golb's digestive process strips beings to their essential forms. The Ice Crown's magic was separated from Simon Petrikov's humanity. Simon emerged as himself. No crown, no ice powers, no madness, just a man in glasses, confused and free for the first time in 1,000 years. Betty emerged as herself, stripped of Magic Man's borrowed powers. For one moment, Simon and Betty were reunited, two ordinary humans, seeing each other clearly for the first time in over a millennium. Betty, holding the reset ice crown in its original wish-granting state, tried to wish Golb out of existence. The crown doesn't grant your stated wish, it grants your deepest wish. Betty's deepest wish was not to destroy Golb, it was to protect Simon. The crown fused Betty with Golb, a woman who loved a man so much that she travelled through time, learned magic, lost her mind, and ultimately merged with a cosmic entity of chaos, all in service of protecting him, became something new, Golbetty. The new entity was still enormous, still cosmic, still incomprehensible, but it had something Golb never had, intention born from love. Golbetty left Ooo through a portal, taking Betty with it permanently. The immediate threat was over. Simon got his mind back, he got his life back, and Betty was gone. In the aftermath, Gunter the Penguin grabbed the reset ice crown and put it on. His deepest wish was to be like the Ice King, his master of 1,000 years, whom Gunter had come to love through imitation and proximity. Gunter became the Ice Thing, a penguin-shaped ice wizard who would rule the Ice Kingdom in the image of the king he adored. Fern, the grass clone of Finn, created when the grass sword merged with the Finn sword, who had spent his existence trying to be the real Finn and discovering he couldn't, died during the battle. In his final moments, he asked Finn to plant him where the treehouse used to be. Finn planted the seedling. It began to grow. The aftermath. Bubblegum and Marceline, finally, together. The show confirms what it had been building toward for years. A vampire and a candy elemental, immortal, in love. The epilogue shows them together. Simon is free and human and grieving and alive. BMO is still there, still functional, still telling stories. And 1,000 years later, the seedling Finn planted has become an enormous tree, taller than anything else in Ooo. Two adventurers, Shermie and Beth, climb it. Shermie looks like Finn. Beth, a large cat creature and Jake's descendant, looks like Jake. They reach the top. The Finn sword, reborn, is waiting for them. The Candy Kingdom has changed. Peppermint Butler, the Dark One, is apparently ruling it in bubblegum succession. The Pup Kingdom has risen as a major power. BMO narrates the story of the Gum War to these new adventurers. The cycle continues. Subscribe. We're going into the specials and the spin-off. The Distant Lands Specials. 4 extended episodes released on HBO Max between 2020 and 2021. BMO, prequel to the main series. BMO travels to the Drift, the space station in deep space. Hugo's plan to dismantle the station for the Unity pod. BMO stops him, befriends Y5, and continues toward Ooh and Finn. Obsidian, set years after the finale. Adult Finn. He has a Jake tattoo with memorial flowers on his chest. Travels with Marceline and Bubblegum to the Glass Kingdom. Molto Larvo, a fire lizard, is awakening and threatening the Glass people. The episode explores Marceline and Bubblegum's relationship in its present form. Established, domestic, real. They have built a life together. Marceline's music defeats Molto Larvo, specifically a love song she sings to Bubblegum, expressing something she'd been carrying for centuries. The Glass people revere Marceline. Bubblegum and Marceline come home together again. The most emotionally devastating of the specials. Finn has died. Old. Jake had died before him, years earlier, which the Obsidian tattoo implies. Finn arrives in the Dead Worlds and discovers Jake has reached the 50th, the highest level, the Adventure Time equivalent of Nirvana. Souls there exist in total peace, eventually transforming into floating stars. New Death, son of death and life, who killed his father and took control of the Dead Worlds, manipulated by the Lich's hand, has been blocking souls from progressing through the Dead Worlds and trapping them. When Finn reaches the 50th Dead World, New Death follows him in and destroys it, sending all the enlightened souls crashing down to the lowest level. Finn and Jake fight back. Life gives them the kiss of life, a weapon capable of defeating death. Mr. Fox, a minor recurring character who had ended up in the Dead Worlds, delivers the killing blow to New Death. Mr. Fox becomes the New Death. The Dead Worlds are rebuilt. The reincarnation cycle resumes. Finn and Jake choose to reincarnate together. They choose each other over permanent nirvana, because that is what they have always done. Chosen each other. They become Shermie and Beth. Wizard City, Peppermint Butler, reverted to a childlike state by Gumbald's Dum Dum Juice in the finale, enrolls at Wiz Arts in Wizard City under the alias Peppermint. Dr. Caledonius leads a cult trying to resurrect Kokentepi, the primordial monster, original source of all magic, whose body is buried under Wizard City. Pep is manipulated into drinking Kokentepi's ichor and becoming the monster's host, Peppermintepi. His friend Kadebra reaches him. He expels the possession. Dr. Caledonius is killed by her own resurrection. Choose Goose, who consumed diluted ichor, survives permanently altered. And then, Adventure Time, Fiona and Cake, debuted August 31st, 2023. A second season premiered October 23rd, 2025. The setup. After the series finale, when Simon was freed from the Ice Crown, the magic animating the Fiona and Cake universe, which Prismo had hidden inside the Ice King's head as an unauthorized private project, disappeared. Fiona Campbell and Cake the Cat woke up in a world without magic, mundane, confused, with no memory of their adventures. Simon, meanwhile, was depressed. He had his freedom and his mind, and he had lost Betty forever. He was teaching at Wiz Arts. He was trying to rebuild a life. He attempted a ritual to see Betty one more time, and accidentally opened a portal that pulled Fiona and Cake into his world. Prismo revealed the full truth. The Fiona and Cake universe was his unauthorized creation, built from loneliness after Jake died. He modeled it on Finn and Jake's reality. He hid it in Simon's head, because there was nowhere else to put it. And the Scarab, the God Auditor, who enforces multiverse rules for the bureaucracy that employs both him and Prismo, detected the violation. Simon, Fiona, and Cake fled through the multiverse on a time remote Prismo gave them, pursued by the Scarab, visiting alternate realities and dimensions while seeking a new ice crown that could restore magic to Fiona's world. Simon contemplated becoming the Ice King again, sacrificing his recovered self for the same reason he had always sacrificed himself, to protect others. Golbetty intervened. Golbetty, the fusion of Betty and Golb, trapped Simon in a vision of the far future. forcing him to confront the necessity of living his own life rather than continually sacrificing it. Simon made his peace with Betty's sacrifice. He accepted that she chose it and that the best way to honor her choice was to live. He threw away the crown. Golbetty transformed the Fiona and Cake universe into a dandelion and gave it to Simon. Simon passed it to Fiona. She blew on it, transferring the universe's control to the people who lived in it, making it truly their own, canonizing it in the multiverse through the specific act of giving it to them instead of keeping it. The Scarab's weapons were depowered when the universe was canonized by the bureaucracy. He attacked anyway, furious. Fiona defeated him with size-altering magic strawberries and cake as a giant hammer. The Scarab was punished by being assigned to work for Prismo, which Prismo, characteristically, treated as an opportunity to teach the Scarab how to build his own universe. Fiona and Cake went home to a world with magic. Simon went back to Ooo and began, finally, to live. The second season of Fiona and Cake, premiered October 23rd, 2025, continued Fiona and Cake's adventures, brought in Huntress Wizard, and developed the multiverse consequences of the first season's events. The world of the show continues to expand, now the closing threads. What Adventure Time was, beneath everything. Adventure Time is a show about cycles. The Catalyst comets cycle through Earth every 1,000 years, depositing the same forces in new forms. The elementals reincarnate endlessly. The blue comet's soul has been a comet, a butterfly, a blob, a thief, a boy, and now, 1,000 years later, a new adventurer, climbing a tree that grew from an old hero's sacrifice. Jake's soul has been a white tiger and a dog, and will be Beth, a cat, in a future where adventure continues, because adventure is what this specific pair of souls does when they find each other. The Ice Crown chose another Gunther. The Maintenance Principle chose to reincarnate rather than accept permanent nirvana. Nothing in the show truly ends. Things change form. Everything that seems like an ending is a stage in a process that continues. Simon Petrikov bought an ancient artifact and lost himself to it for 1,000 years, and got himself back at the cost of the woman he loved. Marceline survived the end of the world, and the loss of every person who ever mattered to her, and found one person, finally, who was willing to stay. Princess Bubblegum created a family, and lost it, and built a civilization, and pushed the people she loved away, and pulled them back, and is now, finally, in a world where she can be both ruler and partner. BMO is still there, still telling stories, still cheerful, carrying the memories of everyone it has ever loved in its memory banks, like favorite games that never get old. The show's final image is a sword, the Finn sword, reborn at the top of a tree that grew from a dead boy who was trying to be someone else and found himself in the letting go. New hands will hold it, new adventures will happen. The story continues because the story has always continued. Adventure Time ran for 10 seasons, 283 episodes, 4 specials, and 2 seasons of a spin-off. It began as a pilot that went viral on the internet in 2007. It ended, or rather, changed form, as one of the most ambitious pieces of mythological storytelling in the history of animation. Before there was nothing, there were monsters. After the monsters, this. Everything that happened between those 2 points is the entire story of Adventure Time. A story about love and loss, and the specific stubbornness of beings who keep wanting things, even when everything argues against wanting. A story about what survives apocalypse and what gets built in the ruins. A story about a man who lost his mind to a crown, and a woman who lost herself trying to get him back, and a vampire who carried both of them for 1,000 years without knowing she was doing it. A story about a boy and his dog, the most ordinary container for the most extraordinary content. The fun will never end. It's Adventure Time. Before we close, a few of the threads this story built deserve more depth than a single pass can give them. The full arc of the Lich through the show, from his first appearance to Sweet Pea to Together Again. The Lich's first real appearance. Not the comet, not the dormant essence, but the active character who wants something is in the Season 2 finale. He had been imprisoned in Amber in the Candy Kingdom for years, sealed there after Billy defeated him. Finn and Jake's actions accidentally freed him from the Amber. What emerged was patient, purposeful, and terrifying in a way the show had not yet achieved. The Lich's first act after escaping, he doesn't monologue, he doesn't announce himself. He moves directly toward his objective. He possessed Princess Bubblegum's body in mortal recoil, using her as a vehicle, a resource, and had to be expelled. The specific horror of his possession is that Bubblegum's consciousness was still inside, trapped, watching. The Lich treats the body of a person as a container for his own purposes. This is the most intimate expression of his philosophy. Everything that exists is either a tool or an obstacle. The Season 4 Lich appearances are more subtle, building toward the finale, where he uses Finn to open the portal to the time room. The manipulation of Finn is the show's clearest portrait of the Lich's strategy. He possessed Billy's body, the greatest hero of Ooo, the man Finn most admired, and used that disguise to give Finn the instructions that would open the portal. Finn trusted Billy. The Lich used Finn's trust, Finn's love for his mentor, as the mechanism for opening a gateway to the Wishmaster. This is how the Lich prefers to operate, through leverage on the attachments of others. He doesn't fight Finn directly when he can use Finn's love for Billy. He doesn't fight the Dead Worlds directly when he can use New Death's need for friendship. He identifies the attachment and pulls on it. His wish in Prismo's time room, the extinction of all life, is delivered simply, not as a dramatic villain speech, as a statement of preference. He states what he wants. Prismo has to give it to him. This is the Lich at his most philosophically pure. He is not performing evil. He is enacting his genuine cosmological position. The wish is his life's work, stated in one sentence. Sweet Pea, the result of Guardian blood transforming the Lich, is one of the show's most quietly devastating creations. The Lich becomes a giant baby who has no memory of being the Lich. He goes to school, he has friends, he eats lunch, he is innocent and gentle. He is played entirely straight. The show does not use Sweet Pea for comedy, except at his most innocent. The extinction principle is living as a child, and the child is good. The dream in Gold Stars is the one moment where the Lich surfaces through Sweet Pea. He's asleep, and something in the nightmare activates the ancient consciousness underneath the child. His voice drops, his eyes go green, and he delivers the monologue. Then Sweet Pea wakes up, scared, with no memory of what just happened. The show never returns to resolve whether the Lich is truly contained in Sweet Pea or merely dormant. The finale's flash forward shows what appears to be an enormous Sweet Pea, grown to massive size over 1,000 years, being ridden by Shermie and Beth. The Lich has been dormant inside him for all that time, apparently. Whether the Lich will ever resurface, whether Sweet Pea's goodness is permanent, whether the extinction principle is finally neutralized, these are questions the show leaves open. Together again confirms the Lich was operating through New Death's gloves. He had been the hand hidden inside, the voice whispering in the ear of the Son of Death and Life, manipulating him toward the destruction of the Dead Worlds. The Lich's plan in Together Again is his most carefully constructed, not the direct wish for extinction, but the systematic dismantling of the structure that allows souls to continue progressing toward enlightenment, stop death from leading anywhere, trap all souls, watch existence slowly strangle itself. Finn and Jake defeat this plan. The Dead Worlds are restored. The Lich is together again. Scheme fails. Whether he was destroyed in the defeat, or merely dispersed, or merely waiting in some other form, the show doesn't confirm. Now the Prismo and Time Room mythology more fully developed. The Time Room exists outside of normal space-time. This is not metaphor. It is literally outside of time, generating time waves that other dimensions experience as the passage of time. The room is where wishes happen, where Prismo lives, where the mechanics of the multiverse's branching structure are managed. Prismo is two-dimensional, a pink shadow projected on the walls, floor, and ceiling of the Time Room, conforming to whatever surface he's projected on. His physical host is an old man who sleeps on a futon. As long as the old man sleeps, Prismo exists. If the old man wakes up, Prismo ceases to exist. The most powerful being in the show is also the most existentially fragile. The specific relationship between Prismo and the wishes he grants is more nuanced than it first appears. Wishes can be simple, Shelby's wish for a pony, for instance, or enormous, creating entire new timelines. The scope of a wish is determined by what the wisher asks for, not by any limit on Prismo's power. The Lich's wish for the extinction of all life was achievable. Prismo granted it. The multiverse briefly experienced a state of total extinction before the cascade of counter-wishes restored it. The creation of the farm world timeline, the result of Finn's wish that the Lich never existed, demonstrates how wish magic branches the multiverse rather than replacing it. Finn wished the Lich away. The wish created farm world as a separate parallel reality where the Lich never existed. The original timeline continued. The multiverse now has both. Wishes don't erase, they fork. This is the fundamental rule of the Adventure Time multiverse. You cannot undo, you can only add. Every choice, every wish, every significant decision creates a new branch, rather than altering the existing one. The multiverse keeps growing. The tree of possibility keeps sprouting new branches. This is also why the Lich's wish for extinction of all life is the one wish that, if fully executed, would stop the multiverse from branching. It would be the final state, the no more choices state, the end of the tree itself. Jake becoming Prismo's dreamer changed the structure of what Prismo is. The original Prismo, before the Lich killed his host, was sustained by an unnamed old man whose identity the show never reveals. After Is That You and the time loop resurrection, Jake becomes the dreamer. Jake's sleeping body is now what sustains Prismo. This means that when Jake eventually died, which the Obsidian Tattoo and Together Again confirm he did before Finn, Prismo experienced the loss of his friend and his sustaining consciousness simultaneously. The Fiona and Cake series establishes that Prismo became deeply depressed after Jake's death. He created the Fiona and Cake universe out of that depression, as a way to keep the story of Finn and Jake alive in a form he could maintain, as a way to not lose them entirely. Prismo's loneliness is the emotional engine of the Fiona and Cake series. He is the most powerful wish-granting entity in the multiverse, and he missed his friend. He built a universe because he missed his friend. Now the Flame Princess arc through the show, more fully developed. Flame Princess, Phoebe, is born as the Fire Elemental's current incarnation, though she doesn't know this for most of the show. Her father, the Flame King, received a prophecy. She would surpass him in power and overthrow him. His response was to treat her as a threat to be neutralized. He had his squire leave her in the forest as a newborn. She survived. She is fire. She cannot be killed by fire, burned down a lumberjack's cabin, and was eventually retrieved by Princess Bubblegum. Bubblegum returned her to the Flame King and endorsed the imprisonment. Flame Princess spent 14 years in a glass lantern above the Flame King's throne, from infancy, in a kingdom that was supposed to be her home, with a father who feared her, watched by subjects who had been told she was dangerous. She learned nothing except that the world outside the lantern was a threat to be managed. The Meet Cute with Finn, Incendium, Season 2, Hot to the Touch, Season 3, shows Flame Princess as someone who has never been outside the lantern, who doesn't know what she is or what she can do, who has been told she's dangerous. So many times, she believes it without understanding it. She burns things. She doesn't know why. She is emotion made of fire, and she has spent her formative years in a glass container with no one to help her understand what that means. Finn's attraction to Flame Princess is immediate and intense, more genuine than his earlier crush on Bubblegum, which was hero worship, dressed as romance. Flame Princess is a peer. She is powerful and confused and trying to figure out who she is. Finn sees her and wants to know her. The relationship's failure in Frost and Fire, Season 5, is a failure of Finn's immaturity. He has a dream where Flame Princess and the Ice King fight, and the dream is exciting to him in a way he doesn't fully examine. He engineers situations where Flame Princess and the Ice King will fight, trying to recreate the dream's energy. This is Finn treating his girlfriend's anger and pain as a source of his own enjoyment, managing her emotional state rather than being present for it. Flame Princess finds out. The relationship ends. What Flame Princess does with the aftermath is the show's clearest portrait of her character. She takes the Flame Kingdom. She overthrows her father, not out of the prophecy's fulfillment, not as the thing Flame King feared, but as the natural outcome of someone who has been imprisoned, released, wronged, and who understands for the first time that the power her father feared was the power to govern without fear. She rules the Fire Kingdom with more justice than he ever managed. The element's arc briefly transforms her into pure fire, the full elemental power Patient Saint Pym was trying to activate, and she loses herself in it. When LSP's anti-elemental power restores her, she is herself again. Phoebe, ruler of the Fire Kingdom, no longer imprisoned by anyone. Now the full arc of the human civilization storyline, which the Islands miniseries develops, and which connects to everything else. The Founders Islands are the result of Two Bread Tom's decision, roughly 15 years after the Mushroom War, to sail away from the mainland with the surviving humans. They found a safe place. They built something. Over the next 1,000 years, the community became an advanced technological society, more sophisticated than the pre-war civilization, driven by trauma into a specific kind of order. Everyone has a role. The helpers are doctor caretakers. The hiders are those who want to leave and are hunted by seekers when they try. The founding principle, never leave, never allow entry, was built on fear. The founders were so traumatized by the apocalypse that they built an entire civilization around the prevention of another one, which in practice meant the prevention of contact with anything outside. The Guardian, the massive robot in the water, ensures this. Finn's mother, Minerva, was a helper who survived a plague by uploading her consciousness into a robot network. There are now hundreds of robotic Minervas, each one a copy of the woman who loved her son and chose to preserve that love in a form that could never be taken away. She is everywhere and nowhere, tending to the island's population, serving her original function at massive scale, her individual humanity distributed across a network. The specific decision Finn makes when he leaves the islands, choosing to return to Ooo rather than stay with his mother, is the show's clearest statement of what Finn values. He chooses freedom over safety, adventure over protection, the complicated world of Ooo over the ordered world of the islands. He doesn't reject his mother or what the islands represent. He just knows that the island's version of life is not his. Susan Strong, who turns out to be a seeker named Kara, who lost her memories and was adopted by the human tribe, represents the bridge between the two worlds. She was trained for one world. She built a life in another. By the time the show ends, she is something neither world fully accounts for. A human with a seeker's training who chose to stay in the post-apocalyptic mainland because it's where she became someone she wanted to be. Now the specific development of the Gum War arc and the events that lead into the finale. Uncle Gumbald, restored to his original form when the Dum Dum Juice was eventually reversed, returned to Ooo with the specific grievance of centuries. He had been a punch bowl. He had been punchy. He had been docile and mindless and harmless, and he had always wanted to build the Candy Kingdom himself. He spent those centuries unable to act on the ambition that Bubblegum's protective instinct had neutered with a splash of Dum Dum Juice. He gathered an army. He recruited beings from across Ooo who held grievances against the Candy Kingdom, past villains, displaced characters, everyone the show had built who had reason to be angry. He prepared for the Gum War. He positioned it as the reckoning Bubblegum deserved for what she did to him. The irony of the Gum War is that it never properly happened. Before significant combat could occur, Lolly, restored to her original form alongside Gumbald, the aunt who had been Manfred the Pinata, turned Gumbald back into a punch bowl. She made peace with Bubblegum directly. The war ended before it began because the person Gumbald had built his entire revenge campaign around didn't want the war anymore. Betty's ritual activated in this moment. She was searching for a cure, still, after all these years. She had access to dark magic that she barely controlled, and she summoned Golb instead of a cure. Golb's arrival overrode everything. The Gum War, the ceasefire, the political complexity. All of it became irrelevant in the face of a cosmic entity of chaos. The finale's final battle is not the Gum War. It is something that makes the Gum War look trivial. The citizens of Ooo, both sides of the conflict, fighting not each other, but the dissolution of all meaning, and winning, finally, by doing the thing that Golb cannot dissolve, making something beautiful together. Now the specific lore of the music in Adventure Time's finale and what it means. The show has always used music as a mechanism of emotional truth. Marceline's songs are her diary. I'm just your problem. Everything stays. Remember you. The Ice King's songs are his madness expressed as melody, the same melodies Simon used to comfort Marceline, distorted and sad. BMO's songs are innocence and imagination. Finn's songs are enthusiasm and awkward earnestness. In the finale, Music defeats GOLB. BMO starts singing a song called Time Adventure, written by Rebecca Sugar, and the others join one by one. The harmony they create is the specific counter-principle to what GOLB represents. GOLB is entropy, the breakdown of all systems, the dissolution of all meaning, the collapse of order into chaos. Music is the creation of order from chaos, the imposition of pattern and harmony and meaning on raw sound. BMO's song, and the voices that join it, is an act of meaning-making in the face of meaning's dissolution. The specific song matters. Time Adventure is about the way that past moments continue to exist, even as time moves forward. Time is an illusion that helps things make sense, so we're always living in the present tense. The song's argument is that nothing truly ends, that every moment keeps existing, even after time has moved past it. You and I will always be back then. The past is not gone, it is just no longer now. This is the show's cosmological position expressed as a lullaby. GOLB wants things to stop. The song says they already have stopped stopping. The moment can't be dissolved because it already happened. The Lich's philosophy says existence is an aberration that should not have occurred. The song says it occurred, and now it always will have occurred, and that always is unassailable. Singing this at GOLB, the entity of chaos and dissolution, is the most precise possible counter-argument. You cannot dissolve the fact that this moment happened. GOLB is driven back, not because it is defeated in combat, but because the thing it is trying to do is philosophically impossible when people are making meaning together. This is why Adventure Time is the show it is. The final battle is won with a song about time. The show that spent 10 seasons building the most elaborate mythology in animated television ended its primary story with the argument that mythology was always a distraction from the real truth, which is that the specific, ordinary, connected moment of people singing together is more powerful than cosmic entropy. The mythology supports that truth. It doesn't replace it. Now the far future epilogue and what the show promises in it. 1,000 years after the finale, the Candy Kingdom has changed. Peppermint Butler now rules it. In what capacity exactly is unclear. The Pup Kingdom has risen as the dominant force in Ooo, built from the descendants of Jake and Lady Rainicorn. Giant Sweet Pea, the Lich's dormant form, having grown enormous over the centuries, is a feature of the landscape that new adventurers ride. BMO narrates the story of the Gum War to Shermie and Beth. BMO has been functional for 1,000 years. It has watched everything change. It has kept the stories alive because keeping stories alive is what BMO was built to do and what BMO does when everything else changes. Shermie and Beth climb the tree that grew from Fern. They find the Fin sword at the top. They claim it. New adventures begin. The show's promise. The cycle continues. New heroes claim old swords. The bond between the Blue Comet's soul and its companion, whatever form those souls take in their latest incarnation, is as present in Shermie and Beth as it was in Finn and Jake, as it was in Shoko and her tiger. The universe keeps producing this specific relationship because this specific relationship is worth producing. The Lich is dormant in Sweet Pea. The Lich is patient. He has been dormant for 65 million years before. 1,000 years is nothing. The next confrontation between the extinction principle and the continuation principle is coming. It will take a new form. It always does. And it will resolve in the same way, not with the destruction of the Lich. That may not be possible, but with the demonstration, again, that the specific things that exist are worth existing. Specific people, specific bonds, specific moments of making pancakes, or singing songs, or climbing trees to find swords that were waiting. The show is not optimistic in the way that assumes things will work out. It is optimistic in the deeper way that says, even when things don't work out, the existing of them was real, and the realness persists. Simon lost Betty. The realness of what they had persists. Marceline lost Simon to the crown. The realness of what they had persists. Jake died before Finn. The realness of Jake persists in the tattoo, in the flowers, in Finn continuing to show up for everyone who needed him. Everything stays, daily and nightly in little ways. The show ends, the story doesn't. The next time someone watches the first episode, Finn and Jake going on an adventure, everything bright and silly and energetic, they'll know what's underneath it. The Cretaceous period, the dinosaur who loved his master, the scholar who bought a crown by accident, the mushroom bomb, and the vampire, and the Candy Princess, and the little rag doll named Hambo. All of it was always there, under the surface, in the background of the candy colours, the dark underneath, and the light that built itself from the dark. This is the entire story of Adventure Time, the specific law of Marceline's music across the show's run, because music is how the show tells Marceline's inner story, and the inner story is the one most people miss. Marceline has been making music for 1,000 years. The Abadir axe that Hunson gave her as a family weapon became her bass guitar. She repurposed her father's instrument of violence into an instrument of art. This is Marceline's most characteristic move. She takes the things that hurt her and transforms them into something she can live with. Her father gave her a weapon. She made it into music. The show gave her a history of loss. She made it into songs. The songs we hear across the show's run are not random. I'm Just Your Problem, from the Season 3 episode, What Was Missing, is addressed to Princess Bubblegum. On the surface, it's sarcastic, deflecting, the kind of song you write when you're angry at someone you still care about. Underneath, it's a statement of abandonment. I've been here this whole time, and you decided I wasn't worth staying for. The anger is easier to sing than the hurt. Remember You, from the Season 4 episode I Remember You, was written by Simon. Marceline didn't know this until the Ice King showed her his old pages. The song that she had been singing as a teenager, the one she thought she wrote, was his, from the period after the Mushroom War, from the time they wandered together through the ruins. Simon wrote words about their situation. Marceline had been carrying those words for centuries, without knowing they were his. When she discovers this in the episode, she and the Ice King sing the song together. He doesn't know what he's singing. She knows everything. The moment is unbearable in the best possible way. Everything Stays, from the Stakes miniseries, is her mother's song. Elise sang it to young Marceline in the ruins of the post-war world before Elise died. Marceline has been carrying it for 1,000 years, the way you carry a song your mother sang you. The lyrics are about impermanence and continuity simultaneously. Things change, people leave, but the mark they make on you stays. Marceline understands this better than anyone. She has outlived everyone she has ever loved, and the mark they made on her is the only form they still have. Time Adventure, the song BMO sings in the finale, written by Rebecca Sugar, is the show's thesis song, but it connects to Marceline because Marceline is the character who lives the thesis most completely. She is the character for whom everything stays. She has been changed by every person she has ever known. Simon made her love music and safety. Her mother made her carry songs. The 1,000 years of Ooh made her fierce and independent and capable of choosing the life she wanted. She is the sum of every person who stayed with her and every person who left. That is not loss, that is accumulation. Now the full development of the Distant Lands, Special Together Again's emotional architecture, which the earlier coverage touched but didn't fully explore. The special begins with a fake-out episode, a deliberately anachronistic adventure that shows Finn with both arms, the Ice King at his most buffoonish, a golden sword that Finn lost in the second season. Everything is wrong by several seasons of continuity. The dialogue is deliberately silly. It's a parody of early Adventure Time, and it works as both comedy and as the cruelest possible setup, because then it cuts. Finn, old, dying. The adventure was a dream. The real Finn is an elderly man whose body is giving out, who is surrounded by other elderly people, who realizes in his final moment of clarity that he is dying, and his first thought is not grief, but excitement. He's going to find Jake. This recontextualization is the show at its most devastating and its most hopeful simultaneously. The fake-out was the show you remember. The truth is what comes after. And what comes after is Finn the old man running with enthusiasm toward death, because death means Jake. The structure of the Dead Worlds, each one a distinct visual environment, some beautiful, some strange, some horrifying, is the show's most visually ambitious sequence. The music Dead World, which is never labeled but exists as a psychedelic space where music seems to be the organizing principle. The grandma calendar green fields of the 30th, where Tree Trunks is surrounded by her loves. The crystalline glitching of the 45th, where Joshua and Margaret built their afterlife home. The slime pit of the 1st, where the worst souls sink slowly into the landscape. The specific visual design of Together Again is also the show honoring its crew's artistic range. Adventure Time always had distinctive visual design, but constrained by the needs of weekly television. The specials gave the crew space to do what they could do at full stretch. Together Again used that space for the Dead Worlds, environments that don't have to follow any logic except internal aesthetic coherence. Mr. Fox's ascension to the role of Death is one of the most quietly radical choices in the special. Death is gone. The cosmic management position is vacant, and it is filled not by a destined figure, not by someone cosmologically significant, but by a fox who was in the right place at the right moment and had the qualities the job required. The show has always insisted that cosmic roles are not inherently separate from ordinary people. Finn is the Blue Comet's incarnation, but he's also just a boy in a hat. Jake is the Prismo's dreamer, but he's also just a dog who likes naps. Mr. Fox is now Death, but he's also just the fox who showed up. The reincarnation choice at the end, Finn and Jake choosing to come back rather than stay in the 50th Dead World, is the show's final statement on what Finn and Jake are. They have the option to stop. They choose not to. This is not presented as sacrifice. It's presented as who they are. They're Adventure Time people. They don't stop. Now, the development of Wizard City and the Kökentepe lore more fully, because the establishment that magic's original source is buried under the institution that teaches magic, is one of the show's most important structural ironies. Wizard City exists in a distinct location from the mainland of U, a self-contained community of magic practitioners. The school WizArts sits at its center. Magic is taught in curriculum form, organized, classified, graded. There are levels of magical attainment. There are teachers and students and examinations. The entire apparatus of academic magic is built over the site of magic's origin. Dr. Caledonius's cult is the most explicit expression of what Wizard City suppresses. The knowledge that all of this controlled, safe, academic magic is downstream of something ancient and chaotic and unpresentable. The cult knows what's buried. The academy doesn't want anyone to know. The conflict between them is the conflict between acknowledging where things come from and maintaining the comfortable fiction that they come from somewhere more respectable. Peppermint Butler's history in Wizard City. He stole forbidden magic. He grew to enormous size. He destroyed part of the city. He helped start the Gum War. Is the history of what happens when someone with direct access to magic's real nature encounters an institution that wants to manage magic's real nature. He wasn't a villain when he did these things. He was someone who understood what magic was and refused to pretend it was something else. The institution banned him for it. The irony of Pep returning as a child who has lost his memories, arriving in the place where he was most feared as someone who doesn't know yet what he is one of the show's sharpest structural jokes. He is the most dangerous thing Wizard City has ever encountered, and he arrives as a student who just wants to make friends. The legend of Peppermint Butler precedes him. The person named Peppermint doesn't yet deserve that legend. WizArts has to deal with the gap between the two. Kadabra, the stage magician who becomes Pep's first real friend in the special, is the show's portrait of what genuine friendship looks like in a context defined by hierarchy and fear. Kadabra doesn't care about Pep's reputation. She cares about the person she's gotten to know, who is trying to learn and struggling, and occasionally a jerk, but fundamentally real. When Pep is absorbed by Kökentepe's ichor and becomes the primordial monster's vessel, it's Kadabra's recognition of him, her refusal to see the monster instead of her friend, that allows him to find his way back. This is the show's final statement about the Peppermint Butler arc, the dark magic, the centuries of dangerous practice, the self-curse to maintain ambition, the terrifying reputation. All of it is real, and all of it is less important than whether someone sees you when you're standing right in front of them. Kadabra saw Pep. He came back. Now the specific development of Finn's arm motif through the show, which is the show's most consistent symbol of what heroism costs. Finn loses his right arm for the first time when he reaches for Martin in the Citadel, and Martin's healing magic causes the arm to regress and release. The arm he extends toward his father is the arm that he loses. He reaches for the person who should be the source of his identity, and the reaching costs him a literal piece of himself. The grass sword grows from the injury, a magical weapon bonded to him, which eventually becomes its own being. The grass sword is the wound weaponized. Adventure Time consistently does this, takes the cost and converts it into capability, takes the loss and grows something from it. The Finn sword, the sword that contains Farmworld Finn's soul, is created when Finn's grass sword merges with an alternate timeline version of himself. The merging produces Fern, a grass clone of Finn, who has all of Finn's memories and none of his own identity. Fern's entire arc is the story of what happens to the part of you that is built entirely from someone else's pattern. The question of whether a copy is a person, whether inherited memories constitute a self. Fern becomes the Green Knight. He allies with Gumbald. He does everything the real Finn wouldn't do, compromises, accepts help from villains, allows his desperate need to be the real Finn to override his values. He is Finn without Finn's character, which turns out to be what makes Finn worth being. Fern's final act, asking to be planted at the treehouse ruins, is the resolution of the arm motif. The arm that reached for Martin and was lost, the sword that grew from the wound, the being that emerged from the sword, the tree that grew from the being, the Finn sword, reborn in the tree, Shermie and Beth claiming the sword in the far future. The arm that Finn lost, reaching for his father, became the beginning of a 1,000-year chain that produced a sword that new heroes would find. Loss producing continuation, the reaching that failed producing, eventually, something new to reach for. That's the entire story of Adventure Time in one thread. The specific development of the Urgent's evergreen story that most viewers miss. The betrayal pattern of the ice elemental is not unique to Evergreen. It is written into the cosmic structure. The lore of Lon, the ancient ice elemental who sacrificed herself to forge the Sword of Lon, a weapon capable of stopping the other cosmic elemental entities, establishes that the ice element's fundamental nature is isolation from the other three. Every ice elemental in every generation has betrayed or separated from their fellow elementals. Evergreen froze his, Patient Street. Pym froze herself to outlast them. The ice elemental always breaks from the group. The crown Evergreen created continued this pattern through every person who wore it. The Hudson Abadir lore that the show distributed across seasons deserves more attention. Hudson doesn't know his own origin. He doesn't know who his parents were, whether he had any. He claims to have created the Abadir amulet and used it to slay the previous Lord of Evil, taking the title. Whether this is accurate or self-mythologizing is unresolved. He has been the Lord of Evil for an unknowable period. He has been accessing Earth through portals for thousands of years. The Nightosphere, his dimension, is not precisely hell, though it functions similarly, and his relationship with Marceline is the show's most sustained portrait of the specific damage done by a parent who loves his child in his own limited, selfish way and consistently fails to prioritize her. The Fries. It came from the Nightosphere. In Season 2, establishes the incident. Marceline, desperately hungry for connection after years of loss, stayed with Hudson for protection and information. She made herself French fries. He ate them. This small act of thoughtless selfishness, the Lord of Evil choosing his appetite over his daughter's feelings, was the confirmation she needed. He didn't think about her. She was not in the first tier of his considerations. She wrote the Fry song. She picked up the Abadir axe and started using it as a bass guitar. The instrument she plays for 1,000 years is the weapon her father gave her, repurposed into something that processes what he failed to give her. Now the specific development of Princess Bubblegum's founding of the Candy Kingdom and what it reveals about her character. The Lemongrab arc is the show's most extended examination of the cost of being a creator who fails her creation. Earl of Lemongrab was Bubblegum's first attempt at a more complex candy being, more intelligent, more capable, more independent. What emerged was a being who was intelligent, but socially incomprehensible. He screamed. He sentenced people to dungeons for minor infractions. He couldn't connect. And Bubblegum's solution was exile. She sent him to his own castle with no guidance, no support, no therapy. She made something broken and removed it from her sight. The Lemongrab arc across multiple seasons, the second Lemongrab, the Lemon People community, the descent into tyranny, the eating of the clone, Lemon Hope's revolution, the rebuilding from the combined remains of both, is the show refusing to let this single failed creation be resolved cleanly. Lemongrab is not fixed. He is rebuilt, repeatedly, from whatever remains of the previous version. The pattern is the show's indictment. Bubblegum doesn't know how to help Lemongrab. She only knows how to make and remake him. And Peppermint Butler's history in the Candy Kingdom deserves its own treatment at the scale this story demands. He is 500 years old by some crew estimates. He was created by Bubblegum in the Candy Kingdom's early period as an intelligent candy person capable of managing complex tasks. He is the only candy person with consistent intellectual depth and independence as a character trait. And at some point in those 500 years, he began practicing dark magic at a level that made him one of the most dangerous beings in Ooo. The Gumball Guardians call him the Dark One. Hudson Abadir plays golf with him. He can enter the Nightosphere. He can open the land of the dead. He defeated Peacemaster, a demon hunter, who came specifically to destroy him by turning Peacemaster's children into demons and forcing Peacemaster to humiliate himself in front of them. This is not played as a comedy beat in the way most dark magic moments are. The show holds it at its full weight. Peppermint Butler did something genuinely cruel to an innocent person to protect himself. He was not wrong to protect himself. He was ruthless in how he did it. Bubblegum knows. The Gumball Guardians know. She made them. They call him the Dark One without surprise. The most generous reading, she employs the most dangerous dark magician in Ooo as her butler, because having him inside the tent, loyal to her, is considerably safer than having him outside it. This is governance as much as trust. The specific lore of the relationship between Finn and Princess Bubblegum across the show's full run, which is the show's most carefully developed portrait of how a childish crush becomes adult friendship. Finn's crush on Bubblegum in the early seasons is hero worship expressed as romance. He loves her because she is brilliant and powerful and kind, and because she treats him with respect. He doesn't love her the way you love someone you know deeply. He loves her the way you love the idea of someone. When Bubblegum is temporarily de-aged to 13, the result of the Lich's possession and the medical treatment that followed in Mortal Recoil, Finn is briefly in a situation where the object of his crush is his own age. He is excited, Bubblegum is not. She treats the situation with characteristic pragmatism and returns to being 18 as quickly as possible. The show gradually clarifies that Finn's feelings for Bubblegum are real but misdirected, that what he actually wants from her is the specific warmth and respect that she offers, which is not romantic, but is genuinely meaningful. His relationship with Flame Princess, which the Purple Comic confirms was his most significant love, is what genuine romantic connection looks like for Finn. Equal, emotionally present, personally risky. His relationship with Bubblegum, after the crush resolves, becomes something rarer. Deep friendship between two people who genuinely respect what the other is. The episode Burning Low, Season 4, is the most explicit moment where the old dynamic is addressed directly. Finn is dating Flame Princess. Bubblegum claims Flame Princess is too dangerous. Finn accuses Bubblegum of jealousy. He is partially right and mostly wrong. Bubblegum's concerns about Flame Princess are real and documented, based on her knowledge of elemental dynamics, but the way she manages the situation, through control rather than transparency, is the precise flaw the show consistently attributes to her. She could have told Finn the truth. She managed him instead. The relationship between them by the show's finale, Finn as a teenager, Bubblegum as the centuries-old ruler she has always been, is one of genuine warmth and mutual respect, without the complications of romantic tension. Finn became someone who could love Bubblegum without needing her to be his. That is the full arc. Most shows would have made them end up together. Adventure Time was more interested in what comes after the crush. The show also gives Bubblegum a romantic arc that resolves far more cleanly, but only because it had been building for the entire run. Marceline and Bubblegum's relationship, the wound of the falling out, the centuries of carrying it, the slow rebuilding, culminates in a single moment in the finale that the show earns by not rushing it. Two people who loved each other were separated by the pressures of one of their lives and found their way back. The magic of that moment is the decade of patience it required. Most shows would have resolved it in a single season. Adventure Time held it across the entire series, because some things take that long. The specific episode that Marceline and Bubblegum's relationship turns on, Varmints, Season 7, is a quiet episode. They're chasing small creatures through Bubblegum's cabbage garden in the middle of the night. Two people who haven't been close in years finding excuses to be in the same place. Bubblegum admits what she did. She pushed Marceline away. She chose the kingdom over the relationship. She says it directly, with none of the management through control that defines most of her interactions. For once, She tells the truth instead of managing the situation. Marceline hears it. They don't fix everything in one night, but they start. Now the specific development of the episodes Betty and You Forgot Your Floaties, Season 6, which together tell the story of Betty's descent into magical obsession. When Betty arrives in the show's present, pulled through a time portal that the Ice King accidentally opened, she is immediately the most determined person in any room. She watched Simon die, briefly, before she restored the Ice Crown's magic to save his life. The moment of watching him die, seeing the man she loved fading without the crown that was also destroying him, crystallized her entire subsequent existence into a single project: find a way to save him that doesn't require the crown. In You Forgot Your Floaties, Season 6, Betty obtains Magic Man's hat after Magic Man loses his powers. Magic Man's powers came with his madness, and Betty becomes increasingly unstable as she absorbs both. She is brilliant and driven, and losing her grip on reality in the same direction Simon lost his. Obsession so total, it consumes the self. The show parallels their descents deliberately. Simon was consumed by a crown that overwrote his personality. Betty is consumed by the mission to undo that overwriting, which overwrites her personality in turn. The specific tragedy: Betty was always the person who sacrificed herself for Simon. Before the crown, she cancelled her own Australia trip to accompany him to Pakistan. She gave him credit for finding the Enchiridion. She pushed his work forward at the expense of her own. And after the crown, she travelled through time, learned magic, lost her mind, and eventually merged with a cosmic entity of chaos, all in service of protecting him. The crown cost Simon his personality. The mission to reverse the crown's effect cost Betty hers. They both became something other than themselves in service of each other. The Golby merger in the finale is the show's most honest resolution to this. The crown grants your deepest wish, and Betty's deepest wish was to protect Simon, not to cure him, to protect him. The crown heard this correctly and gave Betty a form, merged with GOLB, that could do exactly that. Remove the threat to Simon by absorbing it, by becoming part of it, by being the one thing standing between the cosmic entity and the man she loved. She succeeded completely, and it cost her everything. Simon, left behind, got his mind back. He got his ordinary human life back. And he has to spend the rest of it knowing that the woman he loved is out there, somewhere in the dimensional space where Golb exists, merged with chaos itself, having chosen this specific, impossibly high cost, because protecting him was what she wanted most. The Fiona and Cake series gives him the conversation he needed. Betty, in whatever form she takes across dimensions, forces Simon into a vision of the far future, shows him Shermie and Beth finding the Finn sword, shows him the world continuing, and what he understands from it is that Betty's sacrifice produced something. The world continued. The people in it kept living. His living is part of what was produced, and the best way to honor what Betty paid is to actually live it. He throws away the crown. He moves on. He starts. This is the entire Simon arc compressed. A man consumed by a crown, restored by the woman who loved him, left to grieve her sacrifice, and eventually choosing to live anyway. The show asked for 10 seasons and a spin-off to build to that single act of choosing to live. The crown took everything. The choice to go on without it, with full knowledge of what the going on cost. That's the end of the longest story the show told. The specific lore thread of the Finn sword and what it means across the show's timeline. The Finn sword was created when Finn, in Crossover, a Season 6 episode, reached into an alternate universe and pulled a version of himself, Farmworld Finn's soul, out of that dimension and into a sword. The sword contained a living person. Finn carried that person on his back as a weapon without fully processing what he had done. The grass sword, which was bonded to Finn's arm from the Citadel arc, eventually merged with the Finn sword to produce Fern. Fern had Finn's memories. Fern had Finn's appearance. Fern had everything that made Finn who he was, except the specific sequence of choices and experiences that made Finn the particular person he had become. A copy of a person is not the same as the person, and Fern's entire arc is the lived experience of this distinction. He believed he was the real Finn. He had every reason to believe it, and he wasn't. The Gum War arc, the final season's main political storyline, gave Fern a purpose. Uncle Gumbald offered to help him become the one true Finn if Fern served as the Green Knight in Gumbald's army. It was a manipulation that worked because Fern wanted one thing so completely that any path toward it looked viable. He became the Green Knight. He fought the real Finn. He lost. In his last moments, disintegrating, Fern finally asked for something that had nothing to do with being Finn. He asked to be planted. He asked to become a tree. He stopped trying to replace Finn and became something he could only be by not being Finn. The tree that grows from Fern's seedling is, in 1,000 years, the largest structure in Ooo. The Finn sword reborn in its branches is what Shermie and Beth climb up to claim. Fern's resolution is the tree and the sword. He gave the show's next generation of heroes the tool they needed, which is the most Finn-adjacent thing he ever did, and he did it by ceasing to try to be Finn. The specific lore of the Greyballs episodes and what they reveal about the Adventure Time universe at a macro level. Greyballs are a recurring format in the show, a framing device in which a character named Cuba, an alien from an unspecified future, collects and presents Greyballs, which are scenes from the past that share a common theme. The scenes Cuba presents are Ooo episodes. Cuba exists in the far future, after the events of the show, collecting moments from the age of Finn and Jake, the way an archaeologist collects artifacts. The lore implication: everything the audience watches is, from Cuba's perspective, ancient history. The adventures are finished. Finn and Jake are remembered. The universe has moved forward to a point where their era is the subject of nostalgic collection. Cuba and his people, small, blue-grey, alien in a way that suggests significant time has passed, view the land of Ooo the way we view ancient civilizations. They find it fascinating, occasionally puzzling, always worth preserving. Greyballs 1000 Plus, Season 6, Episode 31, takes place in the far future of Ooo and shows the world as it exists 1,000+ years after the show's main events. The world has changed dramatically. Finn and Jake are long dead. The Candy Kingdom looks different. New civilizations have formed, and Cuba collects Greyballs from this future period, which means the collection extends forward in time as well as back. The future of Ooo is also becoming past, is also becoming archival, is also being preserved by beings who will eventually look at it the way we look at what Cuba collects. The Adventure Time universe extends indefinitely in both directions. The past goes back before the universe existed. The future extends past anything the show depicts, and everything in between is Greyballs, moments of specific, ordinary life that accumulate into the texture of a world. Now the specific lore of the stars and what together again means for reincarnation. When a soul reaches the 50th Dead World and achieves complete enlightenment, it eventually transforms into a floating star of energy. The show's visual design makes this explicit. The souls in the 50th Dead World are seen gradually becoming more luminous, less defined, until some of them are simply points of light drifting in the space of that dimension. They have become something other than individual souls. They have become part of the universe's energy structure. This implies, though the show doesn't confirm it directly, that reaching the 50th Dead World and completing the enlightenment process is genuinely final. You don't reincarnate from the 50th Dead World into a new life. You become something else. The reincarnation cycle that runs through all 50 levels is designed to refine souls until they don't need to incarnate anymore. The goal of the system is its own transcendence. Jake, who reached the 50th Dead World and chose to come back, chose to re-enter the reincarnation cycle rather than complete the process of becoming a star. He will not remain Beth indefinitely. Beth is a stage in Jake's soul's progression, the same way Jake was a stage, the same way Shoko's tiger was a stage. The soul continues. Each incarnation does something with the specific situation it finds itself in. And eventually, in some incarnation that the show doesn't depict, Jake's soul will return to the 50th Dead World and choose, or not choose, to stop cycling. The show is not explicit about whether Jake will reach permanent enlightenment before or after Finn does. It's not explicit about whether they'll reach it at the same time, in the same incarnation. What it is explicit about is that they chose each other over the enlightenment that was available to them, which means they will continue to share incarnations until they're both ready to stop. The bond is the mechanism that keeps the cycle going. The cycle ends when the bond's characters are ready to end it, not before. This is the show's most generous cosmological promise. Finn and Jake will keep finding each other in whatever forms the universe provides, for as long as they need to. The lore of the Magic Man and what his story reveals about the show's central themes of grief and the failure to process it. Magic Man was a Martian. He was kind before he became cruel. He and his wife Margles lived on Mars, and he loved her completely. Golb took her. In the instant of her loss, Magic Man did what grief does. He tried to rebuild what was gone. He created Margles, the magical automatic resistance-generating laser energy supplier, in her image. He gave it her face, her voice, as best he could reconstruct them, and because he was building from the wreckage of his own pain, rather than from memory of who she actually was, he built it from his nightmares as much as from his love. The construct went insane. He had to shut it down. He had lost Margles twice, once to Golby, and once to the thing he made trying to get her back. Magic Man's cruelty is the cruelty of that double loss. He began tormenting random people across Mars, because the alternative was sitting with grief he had no tools to process. He was banished to Oo. He continued tormenting people there, because Oo had people, and tormenting people occupied the attention that would otherwise turn inward. The pranks, the curses, the bizarre afflictions he visited on random strangers, all of it was grief that had nowhere else to go. His arc concludes when Betty takes his powers and his hat. Without his magic, he has no mechanism for avoiding the grief. He becomes normal man, diminished, quieter, slowly recovering some of the person he was before Margles died. The magic had been, among other things, the tool he used to stay in motion rather than sit with what happened to him. Without it, he had to sit with it. He began, very slowly, to heal. The show's portrait of Magic Man is the portrait of someone who found the wrong way to carry grief, and carried it so long that the wrong way became who he was. Normal man is the person who might have been there all along, if the loss had been processed rather than weaponized. The question the show doesn't answer: is normal man better? Is the recovery worth what was lost in the years of tormenting others? The show leaves this open, which is the honest answer. The specific lore of how the show ended, and what Come Along With Me means as a title. The show's finale is named Come Along With Me. This is the name of a song in the finale, but it is also a direct address to the audience. Come along with me, come with us. We're going somewhere that requires you to trust that the journey was worth the destination, even when the destination is ambiguous. The finale doesn't end adventure. It ends a specific adventure, with specific characters, in a specific moment of Oo's history. Everything after: Peppermint Butler ruling the Candy Kingdom, Simon teaching at WizArts, Marceline and Bubblegum together, BMO still functional, the Pup Kingdom rising, Shermie and Beth finding the Fin Sword. Is the adventure continuing without the show to narrate it? The invitation is to keep going, to keep imagining, to hold the world in mind, and trust that the story continues, even when you close your eyes. The show spent 10 seasons building a world specific enough that its continued existence is legible without being shown. You know what Oo looks like 1,000 years after Finn and Jake. You know because the show gave you the laws that govern it. The elementals reincarnate, the comets cycle, Prismo grants wishes, Death manages the dead worlds, BMO tells stories. These laws produce a world that keeps going whether or not there's a camera there to record it. Come Along With Me is the show's invitation to exercise the imagination the show developed over a decade of asking you to imagine extraordinary things. The camera stops, the world doesn't. That is what it means to have built a mythology, not to contain the story, but to generate it. Adventure Time generated a world that produces stories on its own, beyond the edges of what was ever shown. The lore keeps going, because the laws keep operating. The characters keep living, because the world keeps providing situations for them to navigate. This is the entire story of Adventure Time, told as completely as 20,000 words can tell it. What was before the universe? What was during the 65 million years of waiting? What was during the 1,000 years of Ooze formation? What happened when Finn and Jake were there? What happened after? What will happen when Shermie and Beth climb the tree? The fun will never end. Subscribe, come back. The lore never runs out. Good night. Everything stays.